Your brain just flagged something as a threat. Maybe it was a strange noise, an odd look, or just a feeling. But how reliable is that warning system? Today, we're diving into how intelligence agencies train their minds to process threats and why these techniques could revolutionize how you navigate everything from job interviews to dark alleys.
It's fascinating because what we're really talking about here is turning that gut instinct into a finely tuned instrument.
And I've heard the CIA has some pretty specific methods for this, right?
Absolutely. The CIA and other intelligence agencies use what they call structured analytic techniques. These are systematic ways to challenge assumptions and manage uncertainty when processing potential threats.
Wait, so this isn't just about being more observant?
No, it's much deeper than that. According to recent research, it's about training your brain to process information in layers, from immediate sensory input to complex pattern recognition.
Can you break that down for us?
Sure. Think about how your brain processes a dark alley. Harvard researchers found that your hippocampus actually computes whether that environment is associated with danger, then relays that information to deeper brain structures.
So our brains are constantly running these threat assessments?
Exactly. And what's really interesting is that the cubiculum, a part of your brain, transfers environmental threat information directly to your hypothalamus. It's like having a built-in security system.
That's incredible. But how do intelligence agencies actually train this system?
Well, one key technique is what they call baseline recognition. Before you can identify something as threatening, you need to understand what normal looks like in any given situation. And this isn't just for spies anymore. Police departments across the country are now incorporating these same cognitive training techniques.
Really? How's that working out?
According to recent studies, officers trained in these techniques show improved decision-making under stress and better community relations. It's about developing what they call situational awareness.
But here's what I'm wondering. Are we maybe getting worse at this naturally? With all our technology and screens?
That's actually a really interesting point. Technology today brings potentially traumatic events to us more rapidly and vividly than ever before. It can overwhelm our natural threat detection systems.
So how do we counter that?
One key approach is cognitive reappraisal. Recent studies show it's about reconstructing how we interpret potential threats, not eliminating our response to them.
Can you give us an example?
Sure. Let's say you're walking into a job interview. Your brain might flag it as a threat because of the uncertainty involved. Intelligence professionals would break this down into specific observable elements.
Like what?
They'd look at body language, vocal patterns, environmental cues, all while maintaining what they call broad awareness of the situation.
That sounds exhausting.
Actually, research shows that with practice, it becomes almost automatic. The brain creates new neural pathways for processing these signals.
Fascinating. But let's talk about how regular people can actually use this.
Well, one practical technique is what intelligence professionals call environmental profiling. It's about consciously noting things that seem out of place.
Like in that dark alley example?
Exactly. The research shows our brains are already doing this subconsciously. The key is bringing it into conscious awareness so we can analyze it more effectively.
But isn't there a risk of becoming paranoid?
That's where the structured analysis comes in. Intelligence professionals use specific frameworks to separate real threats from anxiety-driven concerns.
Can you share one of those frameworks?
One basic technique is the what-if analysis. You systematically examine potential outcomes while maintaining emotional distance, something the CIA trains extensively.
That emotional distance part seems crucial.
It is. Studies show that emotional intelligence plays a huge role in threat assessment. It's about understanding your own reactions as much as external threats.
You know what's interesting? This sounds a lot like what good gamers do.
That's an interesting parallel. Both involve rapid pattern recognition and threat assessment, though real-world applications require much more nuanced analysis.
So what's the first step for someone wanting to develop these skills?
Start with situational awareness training. The military calls it left-of-bang thinking, spotting indicators before something happens.
Left of bang. I like that term.
Yes, and research shows this kind of proactive thinking can significantly reduce anxiety while improving actual threat detection.
But how do you practice this in daily life?
One technique is to regularly scan your environment and note 3 things that seem unusual. It trains your brain to process information more systematically.
That seems doable.
And remember, according to the research, it's not about becoming hypervigilant. It's about developing better cognitive tools for processing information.
Speaking of tools, what about these structured analysis techniques you mentioned earlier?
One key technique is called the analysis of competing hypotheses. It's about systematically challenging your own assumptions about a situation.
Can you give us an example?
Sure, let's say you're in a negotiation. Instead of assuming the other person is being hostile, you'd list multiple possible explanations for their behavior.
That could really change how people handle conflicts.
Exactly. And studies show this kind of structured thinking leads to better outcomes in high-stress situations.
It's amazing how these intelligence techniques can apply to everyday life.
That's because at their core, they're about improving how our brains process information and make decisions.
So what's the biggest mistake people make when trying to assess threats?
According to the research, it's relying too heavily on emotional reactions instead of systematic analysis.
But isn't gut instinct important?
Absolutely. The key is integrating instinct with analytical thinking. That's what makes intelligence professionals so effective.
This is fascinating stuff. Any final thoughts on how people can start applying these techniques?
Start small. Practice baseline recognition in familiar environments. Notice patterns. And most importantly, maintain emotional distance when analyzing potential threats.
And remember to breathe, right?
Actually, that's scientifically sound. Research shows controlled breathing helps maintain the cognitive clarity needed for threat assessment.
Well, there you have it, folks. From dark alleys to daily decisions, you now have some CIA-grade tools for processing threats and making better choices.
And remember, it's not about becoming paranoid, it's about becoming prepared.